You're listening to The Brian Mansell Show, streaming exclusively on Spotify and YouTube. New episodes every Monday and Friday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Brian Mansell Show. As always, I'm your host, Brian Mansell, and I've got a podcast, or a vodcast, whatever you want to call it. To me, this is a podcast dedicated to everything that has to do with the amazing game of American football. We are back with a whole new look. Again, this is more of an experimenting look. I'm trying to figure out what's a good look for the show. So every few episodes, you might see me try something different. Today is definitely something different. You haven't seen an episode in about 2 weeks, but it's okay. We've had a lot to go on here, and we've been trying to keep up with everything in the preseason. The last time we were live, we were in the AFC West. That was the last team that we talked about, was AFC West. We went to the division, went through it all, came to the conclusion the Broncos are going to win the division. The Chiefs will go to the wild card spot, and the Chargers and Raiders will both miss out on the playoffs. That's where we left off on our predictions. We have 3 divisions left to go. Today, we are going to get into the NFC East down the line, but we do have a little bit of a change in the format today, people. We're going to be going into some of the major news as well. Ashton Jeanty came down injured at Raiders camp on Sunday, and it does not look good from the preliminary understandings of those in the facility. We don't have a full update, but it doesn't look very positive right now. He may miss time, which means it will be the Mike Washington show moving forward, the rookie. We'll talk more about that when we get there. After that, there's a trend now that players are leaving the NFL for college football. Usually it's the other way around. You leave college football to go to the NFL, but we're going to be talking about something different that is kind of brand new. We haven't really seen anything like this before. This is completely new to me and to everybody else. After that, we'll get into the film room to talk about what's coming out today between the battle of Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. Both guys are fighting for the QB1 spot. They played 2 preseason games. Monken said as of Monday, he will have an answer on who will be QB1 of the Cleveland Browns on this podcast episode, which will be airing this morning. Hopefully the decision will be out after this episode is aired. But based off this, you should know from us, based off the film room, who is more likely to come out on top as QB1. Will it be Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders? You all know my opinions of Shedeur. We've talked about him on the podcast before. But I think we might have something different here in line. And then finally, we'll close out with the NFC East. What does the NFC East look like in 2026? Who comes out on top? Who's a division winner? I mean, we've had a lot of changes going on there. Philadelphia is running with the new coaching staff around Sirianni, but there's a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts to win the division again this year. Dallas has to take a step forward. New York Giants, new coaching, new attitude. And then you also have with the Commanders, you have JD5 completely healthy this year. What do the Commanders look like this year? Can they make it back to the playoffs? There's a little bit of shuffling going on there as well in DC. It's just about trying to figure out who's going to fit where, who's going to win in the end, and we'll be able to get to that down the line at the end of the show. But first, let's start the show off with a conversation about Ashton Jeanty. We have news coming in to start off the show. It's important news. It must be known. If you're a fantasy guy, it's a big, big deal. If you were an NFL fan of any kind, this is a big, big story to talk about. Ashton Jeanty had to leave Raiders camp today with an injury that is considered a lower leg injury. We don't know if it's a knee injury, ankle, something like that. We don't have full answers on that yet, but we do know that he was injured today at Raiders camp. According to Ryan McFadden, who covers the Raiders for ESPN, this is his story. The story says here that the Raiders running back Ashton Jeanty left practice early after suffering an apparent knee injury. He's saying it's knee injury. I've heard other reports saying it's just a lower leg injury. There's been nothing specified. But during the team period, he was diving for a catch and landed awkwardly. He was helped off the field by trainers, and he couldn't put any pressure on his right leg. The entire team ended up taking a knee and said a prayer for him. So we know for a fact that at this point, Ashton Jeanty has a serious injury. We don't know how serious. I'm not saying he's out for the year. I'm not locking that in. Okay, I want to make that clear. I'm not locking in that he's out for the year. But what I am saying is that there's a very, very good chance here that we don't end up seeing Ashton Jeanty play for about half the season at minimum. There is that real possibility that we come across that now. And if that ends up being the case, all the pressure for the Raiders is on the hands of Mike Washington Jr. And you're asking a lot for a young guy to have to step up and replicate the production that's expected this year of Ashton Jeanty. And whether or not the quarterback ends up being Kirk Cousins or it ends up being Fernando Mendoza. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, what is going to make this team thrive is the ground game. Okay, because there's been a lot of talk about what does this passing game look like? What does the receiving core look like? Is it lacking in a lot of ways? And I think you can safely say this receiving core leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, the coach is even on record saying something along those lines. So they could be looking at adding other receiving options. But nevertheless, that's besides the point. Why I've said that is because it's kind of more proof that they were going to lean heavier on Genti this year to help spark the offense as the main facilitator, as the main chain mover. That was the plan. Now that he's hurt and he could be out for the year potentially, again, we don't know the severity. If he is out for the year, there is a lot of problems on the horizon now for this team. I love Mike Washington. If you haven't seen my breakdown video, go watch it. Go check it out. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. You can go find it, even on YouTube Shorts probably. You can check it out there. I did my breakdown video on Mike Washington. Just one play. He is so shifty. He's very quick. He gets through the gap fast. He doesn't have that second gear breakaway speed, but he is a very good running back that can get you big chunk yards where needed. I like him a lot. But Genti is the balance. It's great to have two types of those running back. To have just one limits you more. It doesn't matter if your running back is Emmitt Smith. Emmitt's going to need a break at some point. Who you got behind him? And in today's game, the committee matters more than the star. Look at every team that you see who comes out on top with some of the best rushing stats in the NFL. How many of them are led by the best running backs in the NFL? It's not as many as you think it is. I'll start you off right here. Last season alone, the Buffalo Bills were the number one rushing offense in the league. They had over 2,700 yards on the ground. Amazing numbers, right? But think about it as well. The Buffalo Bills had Josh Allen who could run. They have James Cook, who can absolutely torch you. They have other backups that could easily torch you. The Ravens had a committee backfield led by Derrick Henry. Obviously, Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. He's a future Hall of Famer. But he does have good comments behind him last year. He had Keaton Mitchell as one of them. And also, you have Lamar. That's another thing. Lamar's a runner. Chicago had DeAndre Swift, but they had the third best rushing offense in the NFL in terms of yardage, and they had 19 touchdowns on the ground. So you're talking about, again, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, you got Caleb Williams. Everybody contributes. Here are some teams that have a star running back that just didn't perform where they probably should have. These are just a couple, okay? It doesn't mean the worst of the worst are stars or whatever, but it kind of shows you that just because you have a star running back doesn't mean you have the best team. A good example I'm going to give you. The San Francisco 49ers last year had Christian McCaffrey fully healthy the whole year. Where did their rushing offense rank in the league? 24th. 1,817 yards on the ground. They were severely underwhelming, but had a great running back leading the way. Jonathan Taylor was one of the top running backs in the NFL last year. The Colts offense, 17th on the ground. That's another good example. Seattle last year, K9 and Zach Charbonnet together. Monsters together. 10th rushing offense. But then you go and you look at a team like the Rams, and the Rams are 7th. And you're thinking to yourself, that's kind of high for the Rams. And it's probably because they have Kyren Williams. But they also have another great running back behind him in Blake Corum. They have options. And it's always when you have a dual backfield that things are great. And another good guy who, it's another team who has a star running back that just didn't finish as high as you'd think. Miami had Devon Achane. Achane's a monster of a running back. They finished 13th. They weren't even top 10. The Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs, amazing runner with David Montgomery. Where did they finish last year? 14th. Just because you have the big names doesn't mean you have the best rushing offense. Yes, there are some teams that have that exception, but it's because they get more than one contributor that can run the football really, really well. And that's what separates good teams and bad teams in the running offense. For the Raiders last year, they were the absolutely bottom team. Terrible. Just over 1,300 yards, the worst in the NFL, only 5 rushing touchdowns on the ground. For reference, there were like 5 other teams last year that finished in single digits for rushing touchdowns. Those teams were the Titans, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Texans, and the Panthers. Everybody else got the double digits. But all those teams I just named all had 9. The Raiders had 5. That's not good. That's just not going to cut it. And if you even look at like yards per attempt and stuff like that, because I know that matters. Raiders on average, yards per game were 77.5. The next closest to them was 93.1. They just could not find any consistency on the ground. And that's with Ashton Jeanty, who ran the ball a lot. And a lot of that comes down to protection and play calling. But now with Jeanty off the hurt, and they have a brand new offensive line, and teams got a game plan for this running back who they have not seen before in Mike Washington. There's an opportunity for this running back room to take a step forward, but they were expected to do that with Jeanty, and they no longer have him available. Hopefully it's not long-term. I hope it is not a long-term injury, because I love Ashton Jeanty. I've loved him since before he got big at Boise State, before he had the big year that got him drafted so high. He was always one of my favorites to watch. And when I watched him, he reminds me a lot of a young Barry Sanders. He was just so shifty and ran with so much authority. I couldn't look away. But this is going to be a real bad setback, and I feel bad for him, and I hope it's not long-term. We're still waiting for more updates on that. We'll probably get it by the time this episode airs. But I'm telling you, I don't think they're in severe trouble. I think Mike is great, and he'll be able to do a solid job. But it's better to have two great running backs than just one. It's always better to have two. In this day and age, in this game, having two great running backs and a quarterback who can grab you extra support on the ground goes a long, long way. You just look at the top 10 teams in the NFL last year in rushing offense. The top two teams that had the most yards, the Bills, the Ravens, had mobile quarterbacks. The Bears had a mobile quarterback. Washington, when JD5 was on the field, they had a mobile quarterback, but also Mariota was a runner. Mariota can run. You forget about that too. And they had receivers that did a lot of work too as well, including Deebo Samuel. The Giants had a running quarterback in Jackson Dart. The Patriots, May could run. May could move. You go through his numbers last year, Drake May had 450 yards on the ground. The guy's going to be running. The only exceptions to this rule were the teams like the Rams. The Rams did not have a running quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Atlanta last year with Penix did not have much running to go around. Same goes with Kirk Cousins. But either way, like their running offense was super high octane because of Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson having a big year. So the point is, the top 10 offenses on the ground last year in the NFL had mobile quarterbacks. The majority of them had mobile quarterbacks that can offer support. With the Raiders situation this year, you have Kirk Cousins who can't run. Mendoza can move. He's got some wheels, but Mendoza's not going to start. The early indications are he's not going to start. Kirk's going to start week one. But so if Jeanty's hurt and you got a quarterback who's a traditional pocket passer and you only have Mike Washington as the great running back that can help fill in and give you some extra support as a rookie that you're leaning on, I don't know how far this rushing offense is going to go. That's why I said it's important to have two great rushers, not just one, because it makes it so you have more than one thing to worry about. But I'm sure you guys do find that interesting, though, about what happens with the Commanders, because, even with Jaden Daniels hurt, they still had mobility aspects from Marcus Mariota, but they had some good committee work with the running backs they had there with Krosky, Merritt, and Rodriguez, but also help from the receiving core in some areas. That's why they were a top 5 rushing offense. Nevertheless, I hope Jeanty feels better. I hope he gets back soon. I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite running backs out there to watch day in and day out. So the sooner he comes back, the better off we are as football fans. Another top story I want to get into is something that has been circling for a while, and I can't really give much more of an explanation of this. I just want to highlight the insanity of this story really quick. You're reading the headline right. The players are leaving the NFL for college football. Yeah, I know it's supposed to go the opposite way, but one tight end is going to be going the backwards. To explain it better, Daquan Wright, the tight end for the Browns, he is getting waived, and once he clears waivers, he intends to play for LSU in 2026. This is coming from agents Drew Rosenhaus and Kyle Lincoln. Schefter was told this on Sunday. Wright was believed to be the first player so far to have an agreement to return to play in college after signing with an NFL team as an undrafted free agent. He was not drafted. So he signed with the Eagles after the draft, got claimed on waivers by the Browns back on August 11th. He's been trying to find his space here on a team, and it's been taking a little longer than he was expecting, but it's an interesting thing that's going on here because from what I understand, okay, just so I can try and highlight this the best I can, because I myself am still confused by this. This is the full story I can give you. Okay. There was a court case in Louisiana involving 8 former college football players. The players were TJ Harden from SMU, the running back. Daquan Wright, who we just mentioned, is going back to college from Ole Miss. O-lineman Waylon Lapuao, I can't even say it. Lapuaho from BYU, O-lineman. Defensive lineman Xavier Harris from Ole Miss. Linebacker Trent Hendrick from James Madison University. Cornerback Ethan Johnson from App State. Cornerback Blake Cotton from Utah. And kicker Luke Jawecki from New Mexico. I really can't pronounce any of these crazy names today. All of these guys filed a case as plaintiffs in Louisiana trying to get into the portal. Now, Wright is currently on the Browns roster, as we mentioned, as of then, but now today he's getting waived. Harden played in Seattle's preseason opener against the Cowboys before he ended up getting cut this past Monday. And then Harris ended up getting waived by the Saints back on August 8th. In total, we had 16 college football players that were among more than 30 plaintiffs who got the restraining order granted to them in Louisiana. Now, this court date has been scheduled for August 31st in the 19th Judicial District Court in Louisiana. So this case is still not done. It's still ongoing. But as of the time right now, these guys are allowed to return to play college football, which is wild to me. It's wild to everyone. So this restraining order that was granted by this judge means that plaintiffs can enter their names into the transfer portal for college football over a 1-week period outside of the regular portal window, which typically extends from January 2nd to January 16th. In April, the NCAA made it very clear that they would have new rules in place that penalize any program that added transfers after the January portal window. The sanctions for adding those ghost transfers include a head coach suspension for 50% of the season and a fine of 20% of the program's football budget. There are other groups that enjoined the ghost transfer rule as well as the NCAA's rule of restitution, but this move permits any of the plaintiffs who sign professional contracts or signed with pro agents to go back to college, so long as they actually terminate those contracts and repay any money they received. So all it takes, just so everybody understands, now this is all it takes, terminating your contract to play in the pros, to go back to college, and returning all of the money, refunding it back to the team that drafted you or signed you. So in this case, we are looking at probably for the first time an unprecedented rule that has never happened before in the history of the NFL. I can't name a time where something like this has happened. This is a first for me, and I think it's first for everybody else. Okay? And it's not even just these guys. Even for Tampa Bay, there's a guy too on the Buccaneers. He just played this weekend. Jack Pyburn, the former defensive end for LSU. He got 2 sacks in his preseason game with the Bucs against the Jets in week 1. He apparently is on the list to go back to college if he doesn't make the team. Same thing goes also for former Ole Miss defensive back Wydett Williams, who played in 2 preseason games with the Arizona Cardinals. We have guys that have taken NFL snaps that can decide at any point, I want to go back to school. I don't want to do this. I'll terminate my contract. I'll give you all the money back. I want to go play a 5th year. Never in the history of this game have I seen something like that happen. And I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. It feels like this is a 1-year thing, but the fact that this is okay blows my mind. Realistically, I don't know if these guys will ever get another shot in the NFL for this. I don't know if they ever will. This is ridiculous. Now, on Wednesday, Wright officially entered the transfer portal after he and a group of athletes that filed the lawsuit were granted the restraining order to return to college one more season. And in the exact words of Tom Monken, I'm not repeating exactly what he said, but I'm going to tell you just a summary. He says, "Man, isn't this crazy?" He said, "I don't even know what to say. And I wondered why Lane Kiffin reached out to me a week ago. Now I know. I didn't call him back, and I guess I should have. I think we know now why Lane Kiffin called you. Yeah, this is..." But I don't blame the head coaches for feeling this way. This is like a blindside. This is not normal in any way. At no point is this a normal thing that happens in the NFL. And it's not going to stay this way, in case you're wondering. It's not staying this way. This will not continue. So enjoy the fun for this year. It's not happening again. Wright actually ended up playing for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. That's why I think he's choosing LSU here. He played there the last 2 seasons, and last season he had 39 catches for 635 yards, 5 touchdowns for the Rebels. He graduated from high school in 22. His college eligibility ended last season. He filed the lawsuit because he wasn't included in the NCAA's new rule, which was less than 2 months old, that would grant most D1 athletes 5 years of eligibility over 5 years. That doesn't take effect, though, until next season. So because of that, they granted a temporary restraining order that allows him to go and do that because they're getting grandfathered in, mind you. So the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals granted the NCAA a stay on Friday morning in an order that reversed the federal judge's decision that opened the door for all athletes who started college in the 22-23 academic year and played for 4 consecutive seasons to return to for a 5th season. So we don't know about the penalties tied to this, if there's going to be any kind of retaliation from the NCAA involving what just happened. But I can guarantee you the NFL is angry. The NFL is very angry that these athletes got a loophole. So this stay that's been granted is not going to necessarily wipe away the cases of a bunch of athletes who also petitioned for restraining orders to get that 5th season. It's not going to change that because it's happened across other state courts across the country. That's not going to happen. But what I find very unique about this is that we have players that are willingly wanting to go back to college. And I get it too, because like people talk about, oh, it's the college experience or whatever. But like, no. With the way college sports is today with the NIL money and everything that's tied to it, can I ask an honest question? If you were a college athlete, if you were an NFL player or college player, right? You're coming out of college, nobody's really giving you a fair chance in the draft process. You end up going undrafted, you don't get picked, and you're getting a peanuts kind of deal, and you're not getting much money, and it's like you're probably not going to make the team. You might be a practice squad guy, but you're not going to make anything, and it's not going to end well for you. So realistically, as a player, what do? Do you go back to college where the NIL money is so strong that you can make more money in college for another season playing for them than you would in the NFL just for this season now? Or would you stay in the NFL, fight, try and get a spot, and if you don't, you run the risk of not making any money, never getting another shot on an NFL team? But meanwhile, at the same time, if you choose the college route, you may not make it back to the NFL ever. Ever. I think this is a very tough decision for most people, but if you're focused on just the money, thinking your NFL career is dead at this point, you're going to end up choosing ladder number 1, where you get to go back to college. With all the NIL money out there, honestly, I don't know why no more people wouldn't choose that. Listen, if there is still no kind of control or reins over this NIL situation or involvement of eligibility issues, what is the point? Okay, what is the point of going into the draft? Because then you're going to have more guys that can sit there and be like, listen, I did my 4 years. I didn't get drafted. I want my 5th year. And what's stopping other state courts from saying, you know what? Sure, go right ahead, man. You don't think you're going to make the team? Yeah, man, go ahead, go back. That's one of the stupidest things I have ever heard of in my life. My response, if I was the commissioner of a team of the NFL right now, I'm making sure that these guys don't get drafted ever again, that they can't have a path to the NFL after this. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the NFL perspective, though. If I was in the player's shoes, if money was my main motivation, I'm going back to college. And if I don't have to play ever again, that's fine. I get to complete my degree. I get to do some internships. That's it. I get to go on to a career after football, and I made some extra money on the side, and I get a good paying job and a full degree. What's the problem with that? There is no point, really, right now, in making this argument anymore. Daquan Wright's going to go to LSU, and there's nothing we can do about it. Okay? Nothing the NFL can do about it. You can't stop the guy. He's got a temporary restraining order. Nothing can stop it. So Wright's going to go. You got a bunch of other players that got granted the same thing. Some guys got signed undrafted. Some guys didn't get drafted at all and are getting the permission to go back. Now, late after that window. But regardless of that fact, I understand the standpoint from both sides here. If you're an NFL person, this is a bad look. How can I expect a guy to be loyal and want to play if he wants to go back for money purposes? because and for the purpose of he's going to get playing time. When at the end of the day, you could fight and try to earn your spot. There's a part of me that sits here like, I want a guy to be a hoorah person, hoorah, and like fight your way, earn it, like nitty gritty, like tough stuff, and be a tough guy. Get your hand in the dirt, get dirty, get messy, work hard, get yourself there, grind it out. I that's my one side of me. That's that mindset. But then there's the realistic business side of me, also of this argument, that says, hey, I want to make it to the NFL and I want to do this stuff, but there's a very high probability I'm not going to end up on a roster. And at most, I can maybe get to the practice squad. And if that's the case, I'd rather go back to college and make some extra money. And then this way, I can go complete my degree. I can have fun for another year in college. And then that's it. I can go on my life. I don't need the NFL because I've already seen that I'm probably not good enough to make it. And if that's also the realistic mindset as well, then I totally understand that, and at least you're admitting that. But I can't say the same for every case. This is such a unique scenario because it's the first time I've had a conversation like this. But you know what? It is mind-blowing to me. But when you get these unique scenarios, things happen. It's a unique scenario. And we're probably not going to see a scenario like this again because teams are going to be fighting. The NCAA is going to fight to make sure there's something definitive in place so that this doesn't happen again. NCAA, the NFL wants to make sure we never have to go through a situation like this again and create this cloudy messiness. That's the objective. That's the story involving Daquan Wright. That's the story with this Louisiana court case that went through the restraining order and all of that. We got a bunch of players now that can go back to college. And if that's the case, what does the future look like here for professional football if guys can just do this? Like, I understand, like I just said, it's a one-time thing. But what's stopping future scenarios from happening where guys can go to court and fight for another extra year of eligibility and get that granted to them because they don't think they're going to make it? There's so much more. There's like so many layers to this that I don't think there's an objective, solid one take you can have here. Because you have to look at it from the player's perspective of business and from the perspective of the team, from the perspective of the courts. There's so many different perspectives you have to take here, and you'll understand every single side of it when you really take it apart and look at it that way. But that means we have a complex answer, but not a right answer. We don't have one definitive right answer. We have a bunch of complex answers that together fit into a cohesive mess. That's just it. So that's the story there with Daquan Wright, LSU, leaving the Browns to go to LSU. And I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I'm just hoping this is a one-year thing and we don't have to talk about this ever again. But since we're on the topic of the Browns, I think it's time we move on to a different story here because now we're getting into an interesting side of things. Because as of the airing of this episode, we should be seeing today the announcement of the Browns QB1 for the year. Who will be QB1 this season for Cleveland? Will it be Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders? And there's a lot, and I mean a lot of discourse on this. You'd be shocked at like the level of discourse there's been about this specific scenario. I'm going to tell you now my personal opinion. If I had to go off based of what I have seen so far from all of these quarterbacks from last season and before, I'm probably going to lean towards Deshaun Watson. But we don't know what that's going to look like because we haven't seen any of the preseason tape so far this year. So let's take a moment for ourselves and take a look at the film room and look at what happened in the first two preseason games and see if we can create a clear message for ourselves and see if there's really a true answer just off the tape alone. So here's the first play. Now there's a bunch of passing snaps we had from these two games for the Browns here when it came between the Bears and the Bills. We have 31 total passes. We're going to take a look at some of the ones here and highlight which ones were most notable and look at the differences between all the passes. What we're looking for with Deshaun Watson is how confident can he be in the pocket? Is he going to stand strong? Is he going to panic? Can he get through his reads correctly? Does he time everything right to be able to escape, move the right directions? Is he doing everything right processing-wise? And then on top of that, the execution on the throws. This is going to be a 14-yard completion here against Chicago. It's going to Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy will be on the bottom of your screen here. Snap. Looking to throw. Great release immediately. Gets to his spot. Well placed. Very good. Very decisive. I like the read there. He stood strong. That's a positive sign for Deshaun. Take it. Read. Stared it down a little bit. Receiver had to slow down to get it, but that's a little bit of a bad sign, but nothing too crazy. Now he's going to drop back here to look around. He's going to dump it, and he gets it to his intended target, Boston. He's looking immediately. He's reading the coverages, and he's just staring it down. And it's a good route run, really, by the receiver. 12 down here. Come back to the ball. Ball's on the way. 39 doesn't recover well, and, it's a big first down. 44 in motion. Now, this is going to be an interesting one. Let's take a look back at this again and watch the snap. So 44 in motion, 2x2. He's the motion man. 12 is going to go get Fannin. Boston's going to show at the field. There's going to be like two guys covering up here. We have another option down here. And then late coming out is Judkins. So in this scenario right here, as the quarterback, where do you go? He's going to end up going to Judy here, obviously, but do you think he might be able to hit Judkins, who can turn it up this way as well? Again, could be shifting this way to go get him, whatever, but I think if he hits him early enough, Judkins can get away and get a nice chunk yardage here. He made the right decision, because if you go with KC here, you see 31's attacking downhill. This is going to be an interception if you go there, depending on where you go. Unless you go to the inside shoulder there, which, not great, but the ball placed well, straight to the chest. It looked like there was decent coverage all the way around. It was hard to read anything open immediately, so I'm going to give Deshaun his credit there. He made a good read. I'm looking for the part where I'm supposed to believe in this game that Deshaun Watson shouldn't be starting. I'm waiting to see it. And he's sitting here, fires right there, tight spot. Now, this is an interesting one, because this he probably could have got it to 48 because he's in the flat. But based off the depth of these routes, he made a great decision firing to KC. So far, the execution on Watson's part's been there. He's got some zip. I just don't like that he's looking down areas. This will be a Watson run and scramble right here. So he's going to scramble for a yard. Let's see what happened. Why was he running? Was it designed, or was it something that just happened? Looking to throw, ran out of time, trying to go, and he gets taken down. He runs into the block. That's amazing. Thanks. So from right here, okay, we have one on each side. We have two tight ends on the outside, one running back in the backfield. He's under center. Okay, play action, take it. Okay, 24 is abandoning. He's shifting and sliding, but he's got his own zone assignment. The deep guy is going to carry Boston. You have Isaiah Bond just flying up the field. He might actually have a chance here. He could potentially dump off here to the outside tight end, who is right here on this side on the left. He could have absolutely gave it there. 24 never had an opportunity. And he's got time to look, and he's just staring down the middle of the field. And 12 is coming back here, right? And you see him pivoting between visions. So he's rounding back right here to settle. He's coming back and waiting in this kind of area over here, this little circle. But you have this guy probably going to dwell here. He's going to go cover here. 24 is about to truck down and go get to your guy. And then he's going to reverse directions and go pursue 23. But then he decides he's holding. Now you have an opening. You have an opening right there deep. You have an opening. Step up and fire. Step up and fire. Instead, he decides, I'm going to scramble. Step up and fire. 0 opened up. Isaiah Bond was wide. He's reading it. He's looking right. He's going to dump to 23. He got the corner to bite. Now you flip over, you step up, and you deliver it, because the linebacker will not get there if you put it closer to the numbers. Now, this is a prime example of what I said with Watson, that his decision-making tends to fail at times. He thinks there's more pressure than there is, and he panics, and he loses himself in the game. Okay, there's your fake handoff. He's holding, right? You see his vision. He's staring middle. He's watching that right side. He's looking at the flat. He sees there's nothing in the flat. His eyes finally get downfield here, but he's only looking at the linebacker. He's not even looking at Bond. He's just trying to run. And even in this area, you try to run, you're going to fail here, because he's coming in. He's going to try to run into here, and that's not going to work. This zone is going to get covered because 57 is going to come downhill. 47 can come down this way as well, or just travel all the way out this way too and shut it down. So there's really nowhere to run. He can't even roll out this way because, again, get free, take him down here. He could come down here, take him out too. Like, there's nothing. The idea of him choosing to run is actually the worst possible decision he could have made. This one's going to go to KC. Not a bad ball, delivered to a good spot. Okay. He had to make him flip over, but he caught it, and he took the hit, absorbed the contact, fine. From the end zone cam, what does that look like? And he stared it down again. He keeps staring it down. Snap, looking left, fire on the slant. Interesting decision there. He went a little bit too close to the body, I think, here, because you see the ball right here. A little bit too far back for him. So the placement could have been a little bit more forward. I would have put it to the field side shoulder rather than to the sideline shoulder, but that's okay. So that ends up being a good play there. They end up making a catch. Fine. Okay, at this point, Cleveland's up 10-0. Snap. Looking. Yeah. That's bad. Was anybody open? Now you can blame this on the protection, but I think he could have avoided this. Let's take a look one more time. He's reading right. He's looking back middle. He goes to fire. He gets his hand whacked. He tried to step up and he trips as well. He tripped and fell. Takes it, looking right. Again, he's setting here. Keep your feet active. He wanted to step up, but I don't think there was really a way to step up. They were actually at a very good trap set. The answer probably would have been, if I'm being honest with you, he's probably going to have to sidestep a little here and then back in, and maybe he has a shot because 97s do everything he can to collapse this way. He's just trying to control gap between here and here, and then this guy's just rounding the edge. Really, the only other option is you possibly attack this way, but I don't know if Deshaun would have done that, if it would have worked, because just look at this. He decides to just throw it right here and just dump it, which, again, right decision right here. Sampson is definitely open, but his arm gets hit. He's not aware of the pressure on his, which is, by the way, on his side, not his blind side, the side he could see. But he's looking downfield, so he's not even aware of it. You have to know the pressure's coming. And if that's the case, you either step up here and throw, which you really couldn't because, again, 91, great pass rush, by the way, great pass rush. The answer would have been here, if you take the snap, you take 2 big steps up and really push and you step up and fire, or you go out and you go to the right side and just try to escape. That's the only other options you have. He doesn't do either. And by not doing either, you get a strip sack that results in a turnover. This one's going to be an incompletion to KC. KC should be, I believe, on the bottom of the screen. KC's number 1. It's a bad throw. He hesitated. Why would you hesitate? I don't know. Because all he's doing is he's running it underneath crosser. Okay? He's just doing this. That's all he's doing. And then this guy's just carrying deep to pull the coverage with him. Same deal with back here too. So that's all it is. It's nothing crazy. Then 23 is also taking the guy who I think would be the inside corner, and he's just going to go follow him. And again, KC, you see the coverage, right? You guys all see the coverage. He's occupied. He's trying to call out for somebody to go get him, which would probably be this guy to come down. But then you have Bond also here. But this guy's kind of split. Do I go attack downhill to go get KC, or do I go drop back and cover up Bond? There's a lot of choices here. But Deshaun decides, I'm going to go and attack KC here. But by the time he decides, he kind of double taps it. And when you hesitate, that affects your confidence in your throw, slows you down, allows it to sink. You cannot hesitate. You have to be decisive and hit with confidence. Early on the first couple of drives, he looked okay. There was some confidence there, but that can't happen. You can't hesitate and put it so low. You can't. Okay, watch. He goes to throw. He wasn't sure because he saw the arm come over top. And so he did, and it affected his process because look, his foot is already down. Okay, his arm and his foot are not moving together. Okay, his foot taps. He does a tap and then extends it forward, but his arm, I don't know how to explain this, really. I really don't. He's going to set his foot, but his hand, he's doing this. He's going like that. He's moving the ball out and then back into fire after his foot has already done the toe tap. It throws off your process and your delivery, and it kind of gets him a little bit sticky here and stuck because there's no power behind that arm and there's no kind of lift to it. So it's like a late release. He doesn't have a lot of power behind it in the waist. It's the transfer's affected. So that's another bad throw that's on his part. And see, that one works because he escaped the pressure fast. It was collapsing on him. This is what I wanted to see on that strip sack. I wanted to see him either escape outright or step up one step and fire. Because that's basically what he does here. He takes one couple steps up and then fires a little off balance, but momentum helps push a little zip on that ball to get it where it needs to go. I do think that we're going to see something different here, though. Now, this one's just a bad decision. Bad execution. He's trying to get it to Denzel Boston, who's the closest receiver. Denzel, for reference, is all the way up top. Okay, Denzel Boston's right here. He's number 12. And look at where that ball landed. It landed right in that area. It landed here. You have a receiver here and here. Here as well. Here as well. Instead of getting it to any of those guys nearby, he just puts it dead middle. I don't know where he was trying to fire. I also saw he was under duress and sacked. But that's also a pressure thing. We have to look at his pressure again and what happened. It looked like he got stuck. You could have dumped it to the running back, but he's under so much heat here. There's no way to get out, and he really should have found a way to escape. The linemen have already missed it. There's a twist. 92's flying down the open hole. They're trying to do they're trying to throw their shoulders to slow him down. They do, but now you got an open man coming around the opposite side now from the left edge-ish, and now Watson's under attack. At this point, he can't really run right. He could have ran left a while ago. If I were him and I just saw this and this guy's about to get free, I'm digging my right foot in right here and I'm pushing immediately outside. I gotta go. I have to go because the edges are compromised. Left and right are compromised. And there's a little bit more room on the left to escape than the right. I'm pushing off my right foot and I'm running. I respect him trying to stay strong and get this ball out. But it's a poorly delivered ball. There's terrible technique, and nobody's in the area to really make that play happen. If he gets out right here, right, he starts rolling, you'll have somebody go the opposite way. The problem is, again, you're throwing across your body. I get that, but anything to keep the play alive, and you have all open field. I'm not even joking. Him running, he has this much open field right here. If he decides at this point, I'm going. I'm going to go and I'm going to round and try to get to the sideline. You see how much space that is here? Okay. At this point, he could have just started going. I know they would have tried to chase him down, but he could have tried his best to just ride the sideline. He probably could have gone about the 45, which doesn't seem like it's that bad, right? Or like it seems like it may not be that much, but if he actually does that, the 45 would get him at least 2 yards on the scramble. And I would totally understand it because there's no options. You have to go across your body. I get it. And maybe you get a guy who does a double move and you can get rid of it, but we don't know. He just gets rid of it, and it just doesn't go right. And it's his refusal to escape. It's his refusal to run. Fires over the middle, broken up. Again, bad decision. He's standing strong in the pocket. I like to see him be confident in the pocket. That's fine. But he can be confident in the pocket, but not confident in his decisions. He is reading the middle this whole time. You see his eyes? He's reading middle and to the right the whole time. From snap, because he's reading the left side. He's like, all right, I'm not going left. Like, literally, you see his head. His head is like this kind of field of vision right here. It's this. That's what he's looking at. Now he's going more to the right. When you're going more to the right, you're watching this coverage here. He's watching these three. He wants to see how these three moves. Then when he goes more to the middle, you're going to see him. I'm more the linebacker and the safety back here. Who's taking who? Because this is not going to be an option. He's got a chance to come out this way, but the design is to the right side. And he's reading what he can. And then he decides to step up a little bit. He's panicking. He's checking everything. He could have taken the flat there, and he probably would have had his chance. So when he looks here to throw, he checked the left really quick. Left got picked up. Now he's going to fire the middle, okay? A decent position for a linebacker, but he doesn't have the speed to get there to go pick this up. But the safety can get downhill fast, and he's in an athletic position to get down there and just swat it up. And that could have been picked or caught. It became a 50-50 ball. And if you look at from the end zone cam, we'll get a good look at how Watson's processing was on this, because this is really the issue. It's I think it's his decision making, and I think he's slowing down in terms of processing what he's reading. See his head? He's starting middle, then he's looking right. Middle again. Now he's stepping. He's reading the right again. He's reading 83. He really wants to throw it to 83. Now he's stepping up, looking a little bit to the left, but not fully. Now he's back to the middle. He's going to fire it. and that ball is absolutely swatted. He's going to push it out of that foot, and he's like, oh, he's got a chance. But look at where the ball is. Just knocked away. It's not a good ball. It's not a good decision. It's not a good ball. And it's like he takes too long to commit to a choice. He should have taken the guy in the flat on the right side. He did not do so. And that cost him there. Next play is going to be one of his 2 completions. That's blown up. That's play design, nothing else. I'm not going to give that any more attention. Looking to throw, dump it, hit the dirt. He hit the dirt here. He took his check down. On this play, he took his check down. It's a 4-man rush, bro. Step up. That's probably the most open it's going to be. Step up. And he gets hit as he throws. Genuinely, Deshaun, I'm saying this from a place of concern. Step up. You're doing it on some plays and you're hesitating on others. Look at this. Step up. You have a window. You don't think this guy's going to take out your arm? Are you kidding? Dude. All this field here. Step up here. Okay, he can't spin back around and catch you in time. They're coming around this way. He's coming through this way. He's doing the peeking. At most, you've got an extra second if you step up to your right. Up and to the right, you're fine. He doesn't do that. He decides to throw and he gets the ball swatted. This is Malachi Corley catch for 20 yards. This is a 20-yard throw. This is his last completion of the game here. That's a deep drop back. I love this play design. I love this. This guy's going to go up. Outside guy is going to come in and go. Go across field. This guy's going to go up, and he's going to carry them up the field this way. So these are the 2 deep receivers. 85 staying short. 23 taking the flat. Running around on the same side, keeping everything to this left side short. But on the deep right, you have one going to the right. And he ends up wide open with all that field. If this is not a sliding play, this is going to be a massive, massive chunk yard play. But let's see where this ball is delivered. It's low. It's a low throw. Because if it's higher, then he could actually go and keep going. Because again, you saw what happened from the opposite side. There was all nothing but open field in that right deep quadrant. Now this is another one. He's going to run for 10 yards here. This is what I'd like to see him do, is step up. There's times where you know when to step up and times you shouldn't. All right, it's another 4-man rush, but the O-line's getting crushed here. And he may have a guy up here short, but he's looking at the flat, and the flat's covered up pretty good. So he decides, I'm just going to go. And when he takes off, there's really nobody to pick him up, so he's just going to get a nice 10-yard gain. I want to see more of that from him. He cannot be afraid to run. You got 3. Drop to throw. Trying to, again, just, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now he's looking to read. He's going to read left. He's reading left. He's reading left. Now he's going middle. 85 might have a tight throw here. Commit to your throw. Commit to your throw. You have a nice little lead here. Get some power and zip behind that ball and fire it right here. Get it right there. Because he's too busy right now focused on this running back. He's not going to get there and then immediately cut back in. It's going to take a little time. He's not going to catch him. He might catch him, but I don't have confidence in that. He's dropping back. Get it to the tight end. Get it to 85. Jermaine Terry has a window here. And the corner's even slowing down because you took a beat too long. And now he's like, gotta run. And now he's going to scramble to the left. He was going to dump it. And he's turning upfield. Now look at this sideline, man. Look at the sideline space. All of this. Okay, just dump it in somewhere around here and you're golden. He just lays it up, and I think that's part running back too, but he sailed that out to the sideline, man. You can't do that. All right, because he's turning back the opposite way to try and go towards the sideline. I mean, if he keeps running that fade upwards towards the sideline, I think he has a better chance at that ball. But again, Deshaun's delivery was awful because of the pressure. He took too long to decide. When he went to run, he didn't have the same balance, couldn't run with the strong base. This is your opening right here. That was your opening. That was your opening. 85 was your opening. He did not take it. You are looking down the middle. That's your opening. Because 81's running too straight. He's running too narrow for this to be a route that you could hit on the outside. He's just looking, and he takes too long, and he just decides, I'm going to run. And off balance, he just puts it way out of bounds and away from the running back. He cost his team on that, and that was 1st and 10. So what we're seeing here from Deshaun Watson, it's not necessarily the worst tape I've ever seen, right? But there's polar opposites between what happened on the first couple of drives in Chicago to what we saw since then. He had some nice throws. Granted, he had some nice completions. That 20-yarder was nice, but it was too low. I think he put it too low. But a lot of it is his decision-making and execution combined. It is creating problems. He's taking too long to decide where to put a football, and you can't be that kind of guy. You have to make a decision and be confident in it. You cannot let that ball sit in your hands for so long. You got to know when to step. You got to know when to fire. You got to know, because you never know, man. Those windows are open for half a second sometimes, and you have to hit it in that half second and decide on it, or you're not going to get it. Again, I'm the guy sitting here on the sidelines watching this. I'm not claiming to be any kind of QB guru by any means. Okay, I'm not a QB expert. I'm not a guru. I'm not a master of the sport. Let's make that clear. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that this is not only a very hard job, but when it's your day job and it's something that you've been very good at, that you've made it to Pro Bowls and stuff for, you need to be able to still execute and do all those things well, because you've done it in the past. Why can't you do it now? But how does this compare to Shedeur Sanders? Let's take a look at his tape. From the I formation, fake the handoff, play action, dump it, got it. A lot of velocity behind this ball. I want to make sure he's got power. You want power in your quarterback's arm. He's a younger quarterback. He should be able to deliver this ball faster and harder. He's looking middle. He's got his eyes there. He's not staring. And then he decides to go back towards the receiver who, again, he's got a couple options. He could take the guy down here, right? He could take the receiver here. But he does choose this one over here. This ends up being his guy right here, not here. But he had options, and he chose a deeper option because, again, defensive back's out of position. Great time reading that. Gets it out, delivers it on time to the right spot, makes the man miss, and gets downfield. What it looked like in the pocket. Is Shedeur Sanders throwing with is it a different throwing motion? Is there anything that's changed? Let's see. Last year, big thing people complained about is he had a hand pat thing that would show off a little bit of his timing stuff. And he does. He just had it there. Okay? Watch the hands. He gets wide, pats it really fast, and then now he's firing it. But the ball is getting there with authority, and it's decisive, and he is getting his base a little bit wider, but it's stronger, and you can get a little bit more behind that ball when you do that. So I like this. This is a good look right now for Shedeur. That was a very good throw. This next one's going to be incompletion. It's going to be an incompletion. A lot of pressure, batted at the line. Take the snap, reading. He knew where he wanted to go. He was staring it down. Defender got his hand up. Not much you could do here. If you're the quarterback, you either have to drop, but you really don't want to, because 45 is going to get you here. He's ready to fire. But 45's coming around the edge. He's going to get his hand up. He's going to try to get his hand up. I mean, your only chance is maybe to keep sidestepping, but even if you do, 45's coming around that edge. You're probably going down here. But he does end up getting this ball out. It just gets swatted, and there's really nothing you could do about that situation there, unless he does a further drop. It's the only other way. This is a 35-yard completion here. Let's see what this looks like here. How deep of a pass are we looking at? Not bad. Not bad. That's a very good throw from Shedeur. Very good. So you're going to see 84 work his way across, short underneath. He's definitely wide open. He's going this way. He's carrying vertical. He's pushing up. We see all of this. And he's technically coming down here. He's going to have to pursue to go intersect that route underneath. And while doing that, it's a man-to-man look. You see what's happening, okay? He's trying to set the move on 27, and he's going to get rounded here, right? And Shedeur's already thrown this ball, right? And he stood strong under pressure. He's turning back in. That's a no-go on that route. But he breaks to the inside of the defender, and he's officially got the advantage on this ball as long as it's placed well. And it is. Because that ball, right to the body, and he was able to actually catch up to the ball, work to the ball, which gets him away from the defender and makes it so he has a lot more room to run afterwards. Because he ends up making another play here. He's able to advance this all the way down to the 14, where when he catches this, he's at the 22. So he's able to get an extra 8 yards off that because he got much more separation off the defender, which worked out beautifully. Now, keep in mind, this is the first game. This is against Chicago. He's reading everything. He's processing it. He sees the guy underneath. He's watching right. All the routes are to the right side. The pressure's coming, and he still finds a way to deliver. Again, he's not with the first team offense. This is the second team. At this point, he's like, yeah, I'm going to fire it. 59, right on him. Right on him. He gets hit at just as that ball gets out. Just as it gets out. It floats a little bit, but it gets there. And 81 still makes an incredible grab. It's beautifully placed. Floated up enough just so the receiver can adjust and go chase it down. That, to me, you don't have to put it in a basket for a play like that. He just needs to be able to play to the open field and get the ball. Amani Marshall gets 4 yards on this one. Let's see what happened. He's got to dump it. Beautifully adjusted. Was there anything open? He's reading left. You don't want to take the flat guy. And the coverage is strong here, and somebody already broke through the inside here. And Shedeur was able to escape. In this case, right, this not happening. Here, not happening because he can come down. This guy could attack. He could attack down. You might have a chance up here with 81, but he's in a much better stance. You have all this open field here. If he flips over and just gets it to the right side, that's a good completion. That gets some yardage. He does a little bit too much of a floater, but he gets close to the first down marker. That's your best choice in that scenario. And again, another thing I talk about with Shedeur is I want to see that escapability. The footwork is key. The footwork is key. He needs to be able to escape and be able to move around in the pocket. And here, 96 is free running him. He sidesteps. He's able to get away from the arm wrap. He's moving up. He's hopping. Now he flips the quick flip. He hops and flips over, and it's like quick, and he gets it over there. He delivered that with a lot of authority. And I don't blame him. That's a tough throw to make, but the fact he was able to adjust and avoid a sack, way better than what we saw already from Deshaun. So Shedeur's already making a pretty good case to be QB1. He's making a very good case right now, just off the little things we've seen here in the Chicago tape. There's your snap. Dropping back to look. He's reading left. He's going to go to Corley, who's 83 here. And he's going to agree to fire here, but 25 sees he's locked in, so he's going to close this gap quick. And that's just a pass breakup. That's just not a good call there. And the whole time, you know Shedeur's looking there. You just know. He's reading right, and everything's covered. Really, the answer, if he's able to work back to his right here, your answer would more than likely be right back here. If he works back to his right and holds off, that's where you go. Because this is too tight. 25 is going to close this and knock it off. He's going to try to round out this way. We have another guy coming across this way. You could basically hit this traffic area, and whoever gets the ball gets it. You let him decide. It just basically goes that way. Because this is going to be pushing up, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to get that. Yeah. Safety was heading downhill. Ball wouldn't have got there, man. It's terrible. So you got to make a better decision there. That's on Shedeur. He's got to make a better decision. I didn't like that call there, and there's no way you could have placed that ball any better. Drop back to throw. Fires to his right. It's a good throw. A little late there, though, I think. So this is going to be a timing thing for me. He's just got to get it, like, when he gets his head around right there, that's when you throw. Because 47's way too flat. Okay, he's playing way too flat to the sideline. So this is your advantage here, and he's got to have to get down to here fast. So if you fire it and you get it to right about here, I think you're fine. But he doesn't throw it at that point. He ends up throwing it right here. This is where he costs himself. Because now the ball's there, and they can make a hit. He doesn't have time to be able to reel it in. So realistically, it's a timing thing. He rounds that corner there. That's when you fire. You got to be hitting it right as he rounds this corner because you know where this play's going. You know the ball's going that direction. The second you hit that back foot, you got to go. You got to go off that back foot and go. And he brought it back in and then decided to go. And it didn't seem like there was a lot behind that ball. Here's your snap. Looking left. Completed. Turns the corner. There you go. Well placed. Well done. No problems there. No notes. Fake the handoff. Decides to dump it. No options. And yeah, that's probably the best choice. I hate to say it, but this might have been actually the best choice because people are going to be like, oh, what about right here? No, this is closed. 81's going to get picked up here. Somebody's dropping. You have two choices. All right. You either can hit this one short or you can hit here. Your better option is to hit the running back because the running back here is a lot faster in short area than your tight end's going to be. Your tight end's going to have a little bit more power and some force to maybe bowl over a guy, but he's not going to have that long speed to be able to get downfield. You want to dump to your running back if you have that choice there. And he does. He chooses him, but defender came flying. And that's where he gets rocked. This is going to be the Sanders interception. This was intended for Corley. Gets picked by Bishop. This becomes a very big return. Now that's a bad throw. This is the one people have talked about a few times. Has been this interception. I've heard it. Let's talk about it again. Was there anybody else open on this play that he should have gotten it to? So one more time with this route. Let's see. So we see the underneath. We see 3 vertical routes. Okay. We see this one's going to be a round out here. We see this one's just shooting up the field. We see this guy's going up. And we see this one's going to be a break, probably coming across the middle that way too. Let's just see it again in real time. Yeah, 83 is going to round it. It's going for Corley. 83 is the one that's going to get the ball. And I'm not going to lie to you. He makes the right read. I can't lie to you. He does make the right decision. So Sanders is going for the right receiver. Corley is open. And they're going to be like, why didn't you dump it? Why didn't you throw it here? Because you got 2 defenders trucking downhill that are going to absolutely catch him and level him. This is your line. Okay, that's the line you have to get to. You have to get to this line, the red line on the screen, for a first down. If you dump the ball off and you're going right here to this guy, do you really think that he's going to be able to get out of here on that ball and get free? No. He's not. He's not going to be able to go like this and just go and take it out. Like, no, that's just not happening. But I can say that he's probably going to get taken down here or even here. And by the time that happens, he will never get to the first down marker. That's part of the reason why you don't take the dump downs, because they drop back pretty far. He's got all of this space. I can't lie to you. 25 has to play keep up. 39, nowhere into position. The safety's playing deep here to pick up on this guy over here. This is totally normal. This is the right decision by Shedeur. The ball, the wrong execution. He did not execute on his decision. It was the right play. He just put it in a bad spot. And the question is, could it have been the pocket maybe? If he had a bad pocket, that could explain a lot too. If the pocket wasn't in good shape. Snap. Looking. He's reading it. Reading middle right, because that's exactly where the ball's going to go. There's no chance for the underneath. There's your hand. So he was under pressure and he stepped into it and gets hit. But that ball is just too high. And 25, who's just floating behind him, gets cooked here. And if this ball continues going to the left here, look at all of that field, mind you. Look at all of this field he has to just go this way and trail up and get another 10 to 15 yards. He would have been wide open. But this ball ends up just going way too far to the right. Could he have stepped and avoided it here? So he lands on that back foot right there. Right there. At this point, he's going to have to sit and wait. The typical answer I would have is you sidestep to the left and then fire it, but it might kill you a little bit of time. Yeah, in this situation, he could have just sidestepped to the left and he would have had all this open space here too. 79's doing an amazing job blocking here. He could have definitely bought himself a little bit of extra time, but maybe that route would have closed up and he would have had to run. So there's multiple factors to weigh here. Either way, point is, he could have definitely thrown a better ball. He definitely could have. Now they're in I formation. They got some strong, they're pretty balanced on both sides, extra receivers on the right. You got a guy running across the formation here. He's going to fake the handoff, keep it himself, roll left. Here's why he's going to run it. You could already tell, okay? 86 is tied up. He's not going anywhere. 0 is going to keep coming this way, and it's not going to go well because 26 is trailing, and you have the linebacker here who's like watching Shedeur. So you could either go this way or drop back and go pick up the ball. It's really a no man's land situation. He's trying. He's just got to go. He just tucks it, takes it for a couple yards. That's it. 0 in motion right side. You got two strong right, and so you got 2 receivers on the right, left strong, but you got 2 tight ends on that left side. They're both going to run out. Hit that back, settle, tighten the base up. You can already see where the opening is going to be. You got this open field right here. He's going to have an opportunity here. Right here, maybe if he steps up. Maybe here because the defender's going to be going that way. There's a couple spots you could hit, but I think he's probably going to go to either 48 or the guy crossing. He's going to hit the guy crossing who's got plenty of room to go. It's a good play. That's good decisive play. I want to see the pocket work again. Snap, looking left. See, this is the great decision. You already see 3's pursuing. I believe that's DeMar Hamlin. I'm going to guess it's Hamlin. And then back here we have 25 in front. Yeah. And then he pivots to go grab the tight end, but Standers with confidence is like, I can beat him. And he does. It's beautifully fit there, and he just turns it upfield. That's a wide open throw. If you don't complete that, I will fight you. I would immediately give Deshaun Watson the job if he doesn't get this catch. 81 in motion. Rolls through the outside. Sneaks behind the defense. There's nobody in coverage behind him because they're all worried about Bond in front and 35 back there. It's all zones. Okay. He's worried about this sideline zone. He's worried about what's in front of him. They're all playing this middle area. He's calling out here just in case Shedeur runs. He's got this to worry about tied up here. Nobody's worried about this back area here. Not at all. It's amazing. Fire it right through. Nobody saw him. So he goes in motion. And he also gave the hand signal, tell him to go. And yeah, he's using his eyes to keep the guys occupied. And then eventually he knows his guy's going to get where he needs to go. You just have this open window right here. It's just massive, man. And they all thought it was going to go to Bond. Instead, it just goes back in the end zone, beautifully placed. Not much to worry about. I'm telling you, man, Shedeur's doing a lot of great stuff. He's going to get sacked here, though. Okay. If it's a sack for 0 yards, that means he stepped up and got caught from behind. He tried to escape and he got caught. Let's see. Now, he could hit the flat. Not going to work out well. He's going to end up stepping up instead. He's going to try and escape first. His priority is the escape artist. He tries to run. He just gets wrapped up back there. Yeah, there was really nowhere to go, and everything was well covered at this point. Like, the only time maybe somebody was open is when Bonds hits the double move. At that point, you've got an open man, but everybody else well covered. This is just good defense. At that point, you either want to get rid of the ball or just find a way to avoid a sack. Just get some yards somewhere. Snap taken. Dropping, looking. Center. Back to right. Work back to your right. Throw it. Complete it. Beautiful. Footwork. He's staring middle. He wants 81 really bad. But he's trying to keep the linebackers occupied. He's got 2 guys open short in the flats, but he doesn't want them. He wants 81. And he gets it to him. My only thing is I don't love where he put it. I don't love where he put the football here. I really don't. Because see how he has to slow down, square his body, reel it in, and then turn to run? It's not a bad thing, right? Because like he does catch it, and it's actually safer for the receiver. But at the same time, it does slow down his momentum, and that makes it hard for him to get back to speed, to accelerate again, while the defenders are in full speed, and they're going to catch him easy. That's the only thing I don't like when you do that, but it does work. It gets him a first down. It's a nice gain. It's a nice throw. I'm not going to argue that. But I want to see this again from the end zone view and just see exactly how badly he slowed down. Because Hamlin's going to be in on the tackle here, number 3. He does a good job reading. At this point, he's like, yeah, I want this one. And then, yeah, Hamlin comes in for the tackle. Luckily, he secured it and turned, which is good. Proper technique. It's a strategy they teach in high school, too. They try to teach the football players early. It's a strategy called CPR. They always say catch, protect, run. That's what it means. So that's a thing they teach in high school ball very, very early for young receivers, young players. about the priorities of when you're trying to catch a pass. Because the play doesn't end once you catch the ball. The play continues beyond that. Okay, you're not going to be sitting there making a catch and boom, you're tackled, game's over, right? Like, play's over. No. You got to make a catch. You got to protect the ball and secure it. And then you can turn and run if you have that priority. If you can't do that, your goal is at least to catch and protect. Like if you're on a jump ball and you're on double coverage or somebody's on tight coverage on you, your goal is to catch it and protect it. That's it. Don't worry about running it. Just catch it, protect it, get down. That's it. Anyway, he did everything right. Receiver did everything right. Shedeur made the right decision. Another good throw. It could have been better. Drop back a little bit. You know where this wants to go. Again, you know where Shedeur wants to go here. He wants to hit Jermaine Terry, and again, Hamlin knows it. Hamlin's going to be flying down here. Or not really. He's going to be sitting there watching. He's going to come downhill once that ball's thrown. And he's just got to come up with that. And I think you could argue, too, the ball could have been placed a lot better, too. Yeah, that's on Shedeur. I can't lie to you. That's definitely on Shedeur. The only reason why I'm saying it's on Shedeur, okay? I'm not being a hater. I swear to you, I'm not being a hater. The ball's behind him. Ball's behind the receiver. Now, yes, should the tight end make a catch like this? Yes, you should be able to make a play like that. But realistically, if he's going too fast, can't slow down, and the ball is back here, it's going to be hard for a good receiver to come down with that, let alone a guy who's trying to make a roster. So that's the difference. So it's going to go off his hands, going to go popped up, and then Hamlin's in the right place at the right time. So yes, to me, that one is on Shedeur. That's got to be placed more center to the body or more out to his shoulder to the field side. You can't have that go back shoulder. Nope. Can't do that to the sideline. Let's just watch for Booth here. Booth in the backfield. He's looking left. Nothing's there. He's just going to take the underneath, settle, fire, just behind him. It's behind him, man. I don't like to see a guy panic like that. I don't like seeing a QB panic like this. He's reading left. Nothing's there. Rolling right. Sees his guy underneath. He's stopping here. Trying to go back to his work, back to the right side. 44's on top of him. He threw it behind him. Hard to figure out exactly where to throw it when your guy's hitting double moves that you're just not prepared for and you didn't game plan for. So I'm going to give benefit of the doubt there as well. So we've seen all of Shedeur's tape now. And the difference between Shedeur's tape and with Watson's tape is that Shedeur was much more concise. He was more decisive in a lot of his plays. His execution at times, yes, a little bit shaky. But there's nothing there that makes me say that he is not going to be the starter. You know, he has a lot of power in his arm. He's definitely got some zip on that ball. He's putting them in the good spots. The only difference with him, which is opposed to Watson, is a lot of inconsistency. You see, Shedeur's processing has gotten better. His decision-making has gotten better compared to last year. The problem is going to be now execution and being more consistent in placing the ball where it needs to be. That last play you just saw, that play right there, they were behind him, but you can't really blame him entirely on that. He gets a ball before that was intercepted by Damar Hamlin. He threw it too far behind the tight end where he couldn't come up with it cleanly. You see the one before that, the interception from the Chicago game. He just completely overlooked the receiver there, and he just sailed the ball. He couldn't get a clean throw out. It sailed, and it just ended up going to the defender behind the receiver. So, unfortunately, those things do happen, and you can blame a lot of it on protection. But the difference between him and Watson is I'm seeing Shedeur more willing to move, to step up, to run, and that's okay. I want to see more of that from Watson. So at the end of the day, if I had to choose my starter based off the film room study, we took our look at Standers, we took our look at Watson. Who's the starting QB? Who's number one? For a lot of us, we probably think that would end up being a guy like maybe Deshaun Watson based off experience, right? Because he has all the money in the world or whatever. But I think Shedeur is going to win the job. I think Shedeur should start this year. And this is a way different tune from what I had a month ago. A month ago, I was on the Deshaun Watson train. I was like, you're paying him all this money. You got to make your money's worth. You got to go with the safer pick. Go with the veteran. If you were to listen to me, you would be an 0-17 team. No. Not even an exaggeration. I'm not even being rude. I'm being dead serious. The inconsistencies in Watson's game will be the downfall of Cleveland. With Sanders, it was simply a couple errors in execution in firing the ball where it had to be. With Watson, I'm seeing hesitation. You have to understand, when you have a quarterback that's supposed to be your starter, your star guy that's supposed to lead an offense, you want a guy that plays with confidence, with authority, with decisiveness. I don't want to see a guy that sits there, has to ball pat the ball a couple times before he finally makes a decision. He finds a receiver, he's hesitating to throw, even though he's so wide open. And that one hesitation causes that window to close and a pass breakup to happen, or even a sack. The refusal to stick to your gut on that throw, to stick to what you're seeing on those throws, on those decisions. That is what's going to hurt Watson and this team moving forward. If you want to win, put yourself in the best situation to win, Shedeur Sanders must start. It's no longer a debate. Shedeur Sanders must be QB1. You don't believe me? Let's go listen to the Browns reporter who was in the press conference room who believed entering the day that Deshaun Watson was going to be QB1.
I've never been a part of a press conference like that, and I don't think I'll ever be a part of a press conference like the one I just saw with Deshaun Watson. To put it in perspective for you, before we walked into the media room for Todd Monken's press conference, I was talking to another media member, and I said, listen, there's no way that Deshaun Watson doesn't win this job. I know Shedeur played well today. I know Deshaun didn't have his best day, but I think that Deshaun's too far ahead in Todd Monken's eyes. From all the tea leaves we've read from training camp, from preseason, I just don't think it's going to be made up in one half of preseason football. You're just not going to get the attempts that you need. And listen, it's not what I would have done, but it's just how I felt. I thought it was 100% going to be Deshaun. I walked out of Deshaun Watson's press conference and said, there's not a world where the Cleveland Browns should ever start Deshaun Watson as their starting quarterback again. And listen, on a very personal, human level, seeing someone broken down, like their mental health broken down to that point, I'm never going to bash on the guy. Like this is beyond football. This is a responsibility thing from the Browns and Deshaun Watson's mental health to say, hey, this hasn't worked. And clearly you've been lying to the media and this has had an effect on you. And obviously, bringing up the Achilles and how, the fans booed you, it's really taken a toll emotionally on Deshaun Watson, and you can see it. And that's sad. Like, that's just objectively sad. No matter how you feel about Deshaun Watson, just like seeing that emotion in real time and seeing someone at their brink, like, it's a sad thing to watch. So I just think it's time. If now is not the sign that this was the final nail in the coffin, I don't know what will be. But to me, it was pretty clear and obvious that you can never have Deshaun Watson start a game for the Browns again.
If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what else will. If Deshaun Watson is named the starter as of the airing of this episode, I will not be able to help Cleveland anymore. I don't know if I can even make justifications for Cleveland anymore. His answers in the press conference, post-game, no accountability. The guy was more obsessed about the fact that people were complaining about him, that they were giving him negative attention. He was more focused on that than the fact that he did not play good football today. He was more obsessed with the fact that people had a problem with how he played and what he was doing in general, that people had a problem with him in general than the fact that he didn't have a great day. And not even that. He didn't have a good day playing against second string players. That's my bigger problem than anything else that we saw from Shedeur. Okay. Watson had a great game against Chicago for the most part. Shedeur had been good against Chicago, made one major error everybody focused on. The Bills game, polar opposite. At that point, it's a dead heat for who's going to be the starter at that point. However, when you act like this in front of the media, it feels like you are doing yourself a disservice. So I expect Todd Monken to name Shedeur Sanders as quarterback one of the Cleveland Browns for the 2026 season. And that brings us to our final topic of the day. We're going to be going into what the NFC East is going to look like in 2026. No, this is not NFC East preview. I've been doing previews of every other thing so far, no previews of anything else. I don't want to do a full preview episode again. I don't want to do that. So moving forward, we are just going to be doing these segments like this. So today's segment will be the NFC East preview, if you will. What does the NFC East look like in 2026? This season, we have a lot of storylines. Are the Eagles going to be able to repeat as division winners again? Because it's already hard enough to repeat in the NFC East. Can they do it again? Dallas looks a lot stronger since they were able to retain George Pickens. But can this Dallas offense get to the playoffs despite the fact that their defense is still in a rebuilding phase? For the Giants, it's a whole new coach. It's a whole new attitude. Same stars, though. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo. They did lose Dexter Lawrence. They did lose a couple key defenders, but they made some major additions in the defensive side and on the offensive side. Most notably, Malik Neighbors will be back. Malachi Fields they drafted. A lot of high hopes for him. Odell Beckham returns to the team. A healthy O-line. Defensively, they've added a lot of key pieces that are going to make them more competitive. But is it enough to make the playoffs? And finally, the Commanders. In Washington, D.C., we have a lot of questions about what's going on with Dan Quinn, what's going on with this Commanders team. But with Stephon Diggs now stepping into the fold, with Jaden Daniels finally healthy to play a full season, will he play a full season is number one. But number two, what can the Commanders do to get themselves back into a winning mode? Can they get back to a pattern of winning? I don't know if that's going to be feasible for a team like this, but the best thing we could do is go into the playoff predictor segment and lay out the schedule and see who stands where. So we're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles are going to be an interesting case here to cover because they're supposed to be the repeat champs, and I think they can be, but it all depends on how things shake out. So I think they're going to beat the Commanders week 1, Titans week 2, Bears they'll lose to in week 3, beat the Rams week 4, Jaguars week 5 in London, Carolina week 6. They get to Dallas in week 7. They should beat them in Philly. I think they're going to split, though, so they're going to lose the other matchup. But they'll also complete a season sweep of the Commanders. So I'm not out on the Commanders necessarily, like saying that they're going to be the. Well, I'll rephrase that. I don't think the Commanders are going to be very good this year. I really don't think they did enough offensively to keep themselves competitive, and I think they're going to play themselves out of a lot of games. And health-wise, I don't think they're a very healthy team. They're an older team that's got injury history. Week 9, they are hosting the Giants. Giants are going to get them, I think, on off guard. Philly is going to lose that one. Week 10, they get a bye week. Week 11, they host the Steelers, win that, lose to the Cowboys week 12 on Thursday night. Is it Thursday night? Thursday afternoon. They're going to beat the Cardinals week 13, Colts in week 14. They'll lose to Seattle, Houston, and San Francisco, 3 in a row from weeks 15 through 17. Close out with the win over the Giants in week 18. They'll finish at 11-6. Cowboys are up next. Cowboys I have a lot of high hopes for this year, but they're going to lose to the Giants in week 1 and make this very interesting. They lose to the Giants in week 1, will win 2 in a row against Washington and Baltimore. I know, shocker. And then they will be losing 2 in a row. They lose to the Texans and the Buccaneers. Then they have to host the Packers. Sorry, they're going to Green Bay next. They go to Green Bay next, and they're going to beat the Packers in Lambeau. Go to Philly in week 7, lose there. Beat the Cardinals in Dallas in week 8, lose to the Colts in Indy in week 9. And then they run off a 4-game winning streak, beating the 49ers, Titans, and Eagles all in Dallas, and then beating Seattle in Seattle, which is a very wild win streak that they're going to be on. It's a great run. It's keeping them very much in competition. Unfortunately, the last 4 games are going to cost them after the bye week in week 14. They'll lose the next 2 to the Rams and Jaguars. Then they're going to beat the Giants and Commanders, close out the year. They finish at 10-7, miss the playoffs. Giants up next. There's a lot of high hopes this year for this team. They're going to beat Dallas in week 1, then drop 2 in a row. Rams, Titans. I know, Titans game kind of crazy, but, I think this team is a lot better than people think, and the Giants are going to be better than the Titans record-wise, but in a rivalry matchup like that, because it's Dable and former Giants players, I think they're going to get the better of them just for the love of the game. But they'll beat the Cardinals in week 4, then drop 1 to the Commanders in week 5, but they will split the season series, which means they will beat the Commanders in week 10. But week 6, they are going to play the Saints, win there. Then they lose to the Texans in week 7 after losing to the Saints in week 6. Week 8's the bye. They go to Philly in week 9, get a victory there. They'll split with Philly because Philly will beat them in week 18. Week 11, they are going to lose to Jacksonville. Week 12, they beat the Colts. Week 13 and 14, they lose to both San Francisco and Seattle. Week 15, they host the Browns and beat the Browns. Then they lose the final 3 on their schedule, losing in Detroit, in Dallas, and home against Philly. That leaves the Giants at a grand total of 7-10. And finally, the Washington Commanders is the last team I want to cover here. I'm telling you, I'm really down on this team, and the schedule reflects it. They're going to lose their first 4. Philly, Dallas, Seattle, and Indy. I know they could beat Indy. They're not going to beat Indy. Week 5, they're going to beat the Giants for their first win of the season, then lose to the San Francisco the week right after that. Week 7 comes around, it's the bye week. Week 8, and they're going to go on a streak of losing again. They're going to lose every game from week 8 to 14. They lose to Philly, the Rams, the Giants in a rematch. Lose to the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Texans. I know the Cardinals and Titans one are really weird for Washington, but it just goes to show you, if I pick them over the Cardinals are 1-16. If I pick them over the Titans fall to like 4-13. But I don't know if that's gonna necessarily happen. And they would be a 3-14 team. I think they could, but it's too late to change that kind of stuff, Week 14. I said they lose to the Texans. Week 15, they finally get their second win. They're going to beat Atlanta in Washington. Week 16, 17, 18 are all 3 losses. They lose to Minnesota and Jacksonville on the road before losing to Dallas at home in DC. That leaves the Commanders at 2-15. So your final division standings. The Eagles are 11-6 and make the playoffs as the number 3 seed as of right now. The Cowboys are 10-7 and miss the playoffs because the threshold to get in is 11-6. And the Giants are 7-10. They have the potential to be a playoff team, very much so if they overperform the expectations. They outperform them. But I don't see that happening for New York. And for the Commanders, they're 2-15 because they are an older team, an injury-prone team, and as great as the defense looks on paper, something's bound to go wrong. And I could have said that same thing for San Francisco, and I will too. San Francisco can easily go 8-9. Easily go 8-9. That's not going to happen. I don't think they're going to go 8-9. I think they're coached a lot better than they look, and they're going to do a lot more damage than people are expecting of them. So that's part of the reason why. I'm more confident in the 49ers coaching staff than I am in the Commanders staff, and I like the personnel of the 49ers better than I like the Commanders personnel. So put those 2 factors together, and the 49ers are well above. But the Commanders are just not right now a great football team. And I think this might be the last year we see of Dan Quinn, potentially, if they go down this route and go 2-15. Again, I don't like to say teams are going to fail. I don't like to call teams losers. I'm not that person. I am going to say it's going to be a very difficult path for them to win. A very difficult path. And I hope they do. I hope they prove me wrong. I want every team to prove me wrong if they can. I truly hope so. But the Commanders, 2-15 would make them the worst in the NFC as of right now because they lose the head-to-head matchup to Arizona. So Arizona is considered the better team. And that is that. And that is that for our episode today here on the Brian Mansell Show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already, make sure you've liked, subscribed, and followed the show on every platform, wherever you're seeing this. And we will have another episode hopefully out this week. If not, we'll see you next week as well. In the meantime, you can check us out as well on Twitch at TBMSLive. We're live every day that I'm free, basically. And we're doing full tape breakdowns, highlight reviews, and everything, as well as reaction videos to some big football content, as well as some other pop culture stuff if you guys like that stuff too. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next episode with coverage on the AFC North, as well as some other news that may be circling around the NFL waters. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you soon. Take care.